Welcome back. Dark Recaps here, wishing you a scary Christmas and a haunted New Year. Hit that like button and subscribe for more creepy true stories in 2023. Let's begin. Quote, "It was Christmas Eve and I was a freshman in high school. My family has been split up for some time, so normally we trade off of Christmas Day and Christmas Eve every year, and this year I had come home early from my grandparents' Christmas party. Everyone else was at my aunt and uncle's, celebrating at another party. When I was dropped off, my cousins offered to stay with me for a few hours, yet I declined. I thought I could watch some of my new DVDs and get some alone time in the house, which is a rarity. I had noticed an unfamiliar car parked on the street, but didn't think anything of it considering it was Christmas Eve. Probably a neighbor's relative or something. After I got inside, I locked the door, grabbed snacks, and started to settle down. I hadn't been home for more than 15 minutes when there was a knock at the door. I unlocked the door and opened only a crack to see a man standing there. Dark hair, glasses, slightly overweight and dressed casually. He didn't look like much of a threat, but my stomach dropped. He goes and asks, "I was wondering about the car outside. Is it for sale?" I told him I didn't think so. "Is there someone here I can talk to about it?" I said, and quite stupidly I might add, "No, but you can come back another time," and shut the door. I turned the lock as fast as I possibly could. He reached for the handle immediately and started pounding on the door. I heard a string of profanities and the pounding stopped. Terrified, I was crawling on the floor to the phone, hoping he wouldn't be able to see me through one of the windows. Then I heard the noises. Our house had an open garage door, and it led through to the laundry room, where the door lock was broken and no one had bothered to fix it. Just then I heard a man yell, and I saw the man through the window run to his car and drive off. My uncle had gotten him just in time and scared the man off. Who knows what would have happened if he hadn't made it home in time. Sadly, we didn't get the plate number, and nothing ever came of it, but I'll never be home alone on a holiday again. End quote. Christmas cookies. Quote, "Like most folks, I have certain traditions that I look forward to on Christmas Eve, but it's not the present, caroling, or snow. It's Mama's famous homemade Christmas sugar cookies. Now, before anyone judges, they are the best cookies in the world, and I pride myself as being a cookie expert. From the 1st of December until Christmas Eve, that is all I think about, the little snowman-shaped goodness covered in frosting. I have to work most holidays, so I can only pop in and have to get right back to work. But as I made my way to the kitchen, you can imagine my disappointment as there were only store-bought chocolate chip pathetic excuses for cookies left. How inconsiderate can you be?" As I turned to leave, I had a thought cross my mind, freaking Steve. I whispered to myself, he is the only one who would do something this vile. Maybe what I did next was a little harsh, but the little prick needed to be taught a lesson. I creeped up to his room, and to my surprise, I found him waiting, like he knew I was coming. Then the vile little imp laughed, "What's the matter, fat boy?" and I snapped. That would be the last bit of joy he would have for the night. "Screw you, old man," he growled, spitting blood on me and the floor as he spoke. I didn't mind. I mean, I'm dressed all in red anyway, and bad little boys need to be corrected. I leaned in close to him, twisting the sharpened candy cane in his chest. "Where are the cookies, Steve?" I asked rather calmly, and I thought, "They're in the drawer." He said. I could tell it pained him, so he told me, but I was going to get my sweet little cookies one way or another. As I left the house, delicious morsels of heaven in hand, I thought, everything's as it should be, even if I'm a little behind on schedule. It was worth it. As for Steve, he will live, and I, being the jolly old elf that I am, gave him a second chance at the nice list, which shouldn't be so hard given he doesn't have a tongue to say such horrible things anymore. Well, Christmas Eve is coming, and I can hear those sweet treats calling my name. Remember kids, don't skimp out on the jolly old fat man, because one of the perks of being me is no one will believe you if you say Santa attacked you. Just some food for thought. Have a Merry Christmas. End quote. Holiday in Cambodia. Quote, my ex-fiancée and I were taking a flight to Siem Reap, Cambodia, from Bangkok to see Angkor Wat for Christmas. However, monsoon rains had flooded Phnom Penh and our plane was now under a meter of water. So our travel agent then booked us on an executive bus. Everything was fine while we were driving through Thailand, but once we hit the border of Cambodia, things quickly went south. Remember, it's monsoon, so there are several inches of mud on the ground and we are slogging through this muck, all the while 7 million kids are hanging on our coattails as we processed our visas for the border crossing. After processing our visas, we got back to where the bus was and the bus left without us and our luggage. So we were offered, or should I say got scammed into, a taxi to take the rest of the way from the border to Siem Reap. The taxi was actually a 78 Datsun King cab truck, which was heavily distressed and packed full of other scammed tourists in the back. We were all covered in mud and soaked to the bone. This is where it went really bad. The truck takes off at maniacal meth driver speed, dodging cows, chickens, and small children flying, raising dust and hell. Night falls and the rain continues. The taxi driver nearly misses a cow and swerves into the oncoming traffic and swipes 2 different cars. You would think he would stop, but he didn't. He sped up. We are driving about 90 to 100 miles per hour over slippery wet roads and rickety bridges, with 2 cars now in a chase filled with pissed Cambodians. The fully loaded truck full of people was no match for the empty cars in the chase, and they caught up with us very quickly and ran us off the road. The truck goes flying into a farm field. Okay, the car chase is over, thank you baby Jesus. So now what's the problem? Oh, that field we went flying into? Oh yeah, it was filled with landmines. So now we are in a busted truck, in the mud, in the middle of the night, surrounded by landmines with pissed off Cambodians throwing rocks at us. Oh, and I am totally out of toothpaste. My fiancée and I got back to the States, and were soon over. End quote. The horror flight. Quote, my wife and I booked a flight back in November to leave on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving at 6 o'clock in the morning. As we came through security, we got a message via the intercom that our flight had been delayed due to mechanical troubles. After this, they would push back the flight's ETD by an hour every hour. This continued until about 12 p.m., when they announced the new departure time was 1 p.m. About 5 minutes later, they amended their announcement to an earlier time, 12:30 p.m. Aha! We naively thought, that means we're going to go. No such luck. It took them until 2 p.m. to cancel the flight outright. Then, we started the fun of waiting in line to figure out what our options were. The only message we got from airport personnel was that they were taking some time to reorganize. After an hour, my wife decided to call the airline and we got helped right away. This whole time, the line hadn't moved at all. The genius customer service person at the front was not doing anything to move the line, and there was only one person for everyone on the flight who was delayed. We found out we were booked on the same flight today at the same time. So we got up at 4 a.m. again this morning. A nasty fog surrounded the part of town where the airport sits. Not a good sign. Immediately upon entering the airport, we saw a massive line at our airline's ticket counter. Apparently, none of the geniuses at the airport had taken any initiative to ensure that things went more smoothly today. You'd think they would have, because half the flight was made up of people bumped from yesterday and already pissed off, and everyone was trying to get to their families for Thanksgiving, and it had to be today. We waited 2 hours in line with no contact from airport staff. I had to ask somebody I recognized from yesterday WTF was going on. We finally got rebooked a few minutes ago. The airport staff is saying the plane they're flying in can't land until the fog lifts, and they have the rosy estimate of a 9:15 a.m. departure, although the website and customer service line say 10:20. I realize the fog is beyond their control, but find it amazing that after they pissed off so many people yesterday, they managed to bungle things immensely again today. I realize this isn't terrible because there is a chance we'll actually get to our destination by Thanksgiving dinner time, assuming somebody manages to do their fucking job correctly at this airport. I'm sure some of you have had much worse experiences, and I'd like to hear about them because, well, misery loves company. End quote. My scary Christmas. Quote. This story takes place 4 years ago and it still haunts me to this day. It was Christmas night and my family were driving home from this fancy restaurant. I, unlike my family, wasn't tired, so the 45-minute drive seemed perpetual. On top of that, my little sister was constantly moaning about how her friend didn't get her anything for Christmas. After about 20 minutes of driving, my dad stopped at a gas station to get some cigarettes and my sister, brother, and mother all got out to pee. I stayed in the car as I had already gone before we left. Once they all left, I decided to play a few games on my phone. I looked at the car clock and saw that 10 minutes had passed, so I immediately wondered what was taking them so long. As soon as I peered out the car window, I saw a man staring at our car. The man startled me as I didn't know how long he had been watching. What made it even more unnerving is that he had a plain blank face. No expression was shown. It was hard to make out any features as it was pretty dark, and he wasn't standing in an illuminated part of the station. He was about 5'9" and looked to be middle-aged. Once he saw me notice him, he started walking towards the car, and I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't scared. Luckily, my dad came back with the rest of the family just as the man took a couple steps. My dad apologized and told me he had been in an argument with the cashier. I didn't care, I was just glad that my dad was with me. I took another glance at the man outside, and he was still staring, but this time he had an annoyed look on his face. We drove off, and for the rest of the car ride, I couldn't stop thinking about that man. This wouldn't have been too bad if it had ended there, but it didn't. Later that night, I was watching YouTube while everyone else slept, and luckily for me, a storm was raging over us. I enjoy storms, it makes me cozy as I'm laying in bed. I put my phone down and just enjoyed the ambience. That didn't last for long as I heard something smash into the window behind me. I lurched forward and nearly fell out of the bed. I thought a bird had just smashed into the window. I parted the blinds, and what I saw next haunted me. I saw a man standing out by my parents' cars, looking up at my room. I took a closer look and I nearly had a heart attack. It was the same man that I saw at the gas station, only this time, when our eyes met, he grinned. Being the 14-year-old I was, I did the manly thing and screamed at the top of my lungs. My dad came running down the stairs and entered my room. "Why the fuck are you screaming?" he said. I told him about the man and I explained everything that had happened. My dad grabbed a baseball bat and told me to call the police. After 10 minutes, the police turned up outside our house and found the man in our shed. He got arrested, and that was the last time I saw him. The next day, my dad inspected the house and we found the handle of our back door had been damaged, but not completely broken. This gives me an eerie feeling, as if he actually managed to get in, he could have harmed us or possibly killed us. End quote. Please consider leaving a like on this video. If you got all the way to the end, I think you should subscribe to me. Thanks. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time. This was Dark Recaps.